Okay, I'm back because I felt like I didn't really finish. I only got to like the second example. Okay.
Is really simple. All who curse their father or mother must be put to death. So is example 4. If a man commits adultery with another man's wife, with the wife of his neighbor, both the adulterer and the adulteress must be put to death. And so is example 5. If a man lies with a man as one lies with a woman, both of them,
All right.
plain and simple,
They all should die.
as teenagers should all be
Yeah.
not heed them when they disappoint
Dead.
shall under your foot causes you to sin,
Cut it off and throw it away.
It is better for you to enter life maimed or crippled than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and to be thrown into a...
You know what? I wanted to
This
say that
passage...
I think that's very interesting because when I was dealing with I did have some lust issues and some fornication issues. I said it. So um it had gotten pretty bad to the point where, like everybody, I was like fantasizing about people all the time. Not saying that I don't, but I mean, it was like a dude, like every 3 seconds. So I read that scripture, and I mean, I'm very afraid of pain, and I don't have a chainsaw. And I don't have a penis or can't remove my genitalia either. But you know what I did is I took a rubber band because basically it's saying that, it's worth going through the pain to get to heaven. I think that's the basics of that scripture. You can cut off your foot if literally your foot is climbing up somebody's coochie or your toes keep stealing money without your permission. Yeah, if you cut it off and you're perfect, then it's worth it. I mean, literally. I mean, who could cut off a finger and still be perfect? If I cut off one hand, the other hand would be slapping your butt. So it won't work for me. It's some issues for me up here, and I can't exactly gouge out my brain without defeating the purpose. So really, the most important thing that scripture said to me is that it's worth the pain to get into heaven. So I actually put a rubber band around my wrist, kind of in that what's that scientific that behavioral pattern thing, psychology, with the dog and the bell or whatever in the saliva. So, in the same respect, I used the rubber band in my wrist, and every time I had the thoughts, I popped myself. People were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it." I didn't want to be like, "I want to sleep with you," you know. I just popped myself, and I think it helped. I think it helped a lot. Okay, let's see. It is repulsive because Jesus is such an idiot here. He is completely wrong. Well, I just thought why I think it's right. It's repulsive because it demands that people maim themselves. It's really not a demand. I definitely saw some ifs in there. It is repulsive because the entire concept of hell is repulsive. I think of hell as like God's gigantic garbage can. I actually don't think it's repulsive. I know personally, I have a Mac right now. This computer that I have is a Mac. I love it. It's a laptop. I take it with me everywhere. Now, my dad bought me an HP desktop previously before. And after going on Facebook like 2 times, it caught a virus. It started downloading porn and it was just all over the place. And I was pissed off. And like the last time I left it on because we had the wireless router hooked up to it and I don't want it to shut off, which I found out later I didn't have to do. But anyway, so I left the computer on and I come back in the room and the screen is doing all kinds of funky things and it's just like blinking and beeping and I'm like, trash, trash the computer because I bought you, I paid for you, and it don't make no sense that you up here just doing what you want to do. What does that make? How does that just makes me so frustrated. How in the hell does the computer just do what it wants to do? Look, somebody's hijacking it. You could say metaphorically, I'm talking about the devil hijacking a human being. Whatever you want to say that it is, point is, if I create you to do something and you don't do it, like if I create this phone so I could call people and text people and it stops texting people, guess where it goes? In the trash because the phone was made and the phone ain't gonna be telling me what to do. Call me stupid, but I've always said that you can look at the actions of human beings and see where God is coming from. We throw away stuff all the time. Now, I mean, imagine if like these fairy tale worlds were real and stuff like that, and like everything could think and talk. Imagine like, your sweet potatoes can talk. I know it sounds so far fetched, but I mean, realistically, imagine like your chair, your old couch. Imagine it has feelings. You threw it away. You didn't care. Imagine your old car, that stopped working, had feelings. It's named. I know it's kind of a far fetch, but that's the way I see it. I'm just like, you got to really be realistic about these things. Look at yourself. And you are the easiest reason and way to understand how God feels. You have to pretend you're God. Put yourself in God's shoes. And then, see man as not a dog. Because last time I checked, I can't create a dog. But the theory behind the Bible is God created us, even the spark of life that is within us. So think of yourself. Think of something that you can make. And then attribute to it human um characteristics, and I think you'll see some of the frustration. It's not, for me, it's not really a big deal to throw away a computer because I could just get another one, or a phone. I could just get another one. And really, that's the way God sees it. I remember one time he told the Jews in the Bible, basically, don't tell me that I can't raise up more children of Abraham out of these rocks. He's basically saying I can go to the Walmart that I created of human beings and I can go buy 50 of you right now. I don't even need you. So if you don't want to work with my plan, you know, kick rocks in the trash can, which is hell. I'm sorry. I know it sounds so bad, but I think that's just the way it is. Let's see. The Bible is also known for sexism. Oh, this is such like an untouched subject. Um, Only thing that I could say is in response to that, I'm still searching for the answer to that myself. But what I do know is that if I do, and I do, take the Bible completely and absolutely literally, I do know that Deborah led the children of Israel for a little while. I do know that in the New Testament, Aquila and Priscilla, which were a married couple, both taught Barnabas or Paul, one of them. They both taught him. Also, one of the disciples that had died, I think her name was Tabitha. She was a disciple, and she had, if you read the scriptures, I believe it's in Acts, she had been doing many good works for the Lord. And I think she was died, and they brought her back to life. Paul, I believe, and she's a woman who was one of Jesus's disciples in Acts. So I look at those things and I use those to kind of help me figure out where I'm going with this. Um, this Some people say you have to look at the background because it's called Corinthians because Paul was actually writing a letter to a church in the town of Corinth. So this was kind of in response to what was going on, and people will tell you that in this church, the women were actually overtaking the church. They were overtalking the preacher, overtalking their husbands. They were basically blabbing through the whole service, and that's why he was kind of basically like, you need to tell them to shut up. And also you need to tell them their place. Tell them to ask their husbands when they get home. There's no reason why they're talking out loud during church. I mean, if you think about it, we don't necessarily say women need to shut up, but we definitely, if you go into a church, there's definitely kind of a mode of shut up. Don't talk while the preacher's talking. Don't talk while anybody's talking. You keep your mouth quiet. And then when you go home, then you could talk about these things at home. Um, Another way that I look at it, which is very sneaky and I'm sure it's evil, and correct me if you know more than me, is that this was talking to married women. I am not married. So I kind of felt like this is, like I said, if they want to inquire about something, they should ask their own husbands at home. It's very clear in the scripture that says husbands. Now, if you're like me and you don't have a husband, I don't even ask who you want to ask. I don't really know how that goes, but I know that there are women in the Bible that God did impart knowledge, and there were prophetess like Miriam when the children crossed over. That was Moses' sister when the children crossed over the dry riverbed from Egypt. She sang a song and led everybody in the